And here we go.
It's the comic book bullies.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
It's the comic book bullies.
You will bow down before me!
It's the comic book bullies.
Now I am the master.
It's the comic book bullies. It's the comic book bullies. Welcome back to the Comic Book Bullies with Nerd is the New Bully. I'm your host Leroy, aka the New 52, with my co-host.
This is Eli, second cousin to Forge.
He finally know who Forge is. So we are back with another episode, and we are back with a new format. I don't know if you listened to our last episode. We kind of left on a cliffhanger. Dr. No had tied us up and was gonna, put sledgehammers to our crotch and shit like that. And how are we gonna get out of the situation? Well, we think we figured it out. We don't know.
Yep.
If not, we're gonna have a sledgehammer to our crotches. We'll figure it out at the end of this episode. But last and for those that are just checking in, the comics industry is completely fucked right now. There are no new books right now. So we have to find a new way, and there's no new books, no new movies either.
Yeah, basically this is our Infinity War.
Yeah,
this is our crisis.
Well, our Endgame, our
crisis.
Our crisis, post-crisis. I put it like that. This is our post-crisis. We had our crisis last episode.
Yeah, the snap happened. Fucking the Anti-Monitor fucking swallowed up all the fucking Earths.
Right. And now we just scrounged around to see what's going on. We're sitting around with Captain America in therapy, in the empty Met Stadium and shit. So anyway, we're getting off subject. Basically what happened is all the comics are gone, so we decided to switch up our format. So what we're going to do, this format is completely focused on something actually I've always wanted to do since we started this podcast, but just never had a chance to do it because the comic industry normally is always moving. So we decided to go back and decide to do a retro issue. And we'll get to in a second what retro issue we're going to do. If you see the banner, you know what we're talking about. Until then, let's just catch up on what everybody's is going through. Like I said, we're all going through a tough time right now. This coronavirus is really, putting us all through the pinch. Some people are feeling it worse than others. Unemployment is going up through the roof. The cases are going up. Death rates are going up. U.S. is in shambles right now. But we're here to make you have a good time. We understand there's a lot of bullshit going on right now. We want to make sure you're entertained listening to us. But I do want to say this, Eli, that I just like last week when I felt the pinch with Chick-fil-A. I'm not Chick-fil-A. Raising Cane's. I felt it again today with the NBA.
Did they try to give you more coleslaw?
They always try to give me coleslaw. Why the fuck do you give people Nobody ever wants coleslaw. Nobody eats it. Just give you extra toast, no coleslaw. Just put that on the menu. Just be done with it. That's what I'm talking about. NBA. Now, like I said, the NBA has been canceled. It's a Sunday. I'm chilling. And normally when I'm chilling, I'll just have an NBA game playing in the background while I'm like reading comics or playing video games, whatever like that. It's just playing in the background. Can't do that today. So I go on the NBA page like I normally go and lo and behold, what do I see on there? They're actually playing NBA 2K on the NBA page. And the games they're playing are a simulation of the games that would have been played today. So I'm watching like, what the fuck is happening? But then after like the first, 5 minutes of watching it in the first quarter, I kind of got into it, That's a foul. Ref call that, So I'm getting lit on to it until like that. And then on top of that, that's when the player thing started where like the NBA players are having like an NBA 2K tournament, stuff like that. So since you can't have real sports, you're just going to simulate sports. NBA is so desperate to figure this thing out, they're going to probably bring a game of horse and play it on ESPN. Now, for those that don't know what horse is when the one guy shoots the basketball with an H, the other guy shoots in the same spot plus O. The shit you play in the playground. They're going to do that in the real NBA, maybe. So, crazy shit.
Did you watch WrestleMania?
Not since the 90's.
Oh,
no.
I guess it had. I didn't watch it either, but I guess they had it.
They had it? I think they did it in an empty stadium.
Yeah.
Did the
wrestlers I watched was it AEW a couple weeks ago in an empty stadium, and it was interesting. It was like performance art. Well, it is performance art, but
it really is.
Not having a crowd there makes it like one of those experimental like theater or something.
Did they even touch each other? Were they scared to touch each other?
Oh, they were doing everything. There's just no crowd. It was just
Like an air kick or some shit like in a bad kung fu movie.
Yeah, and then when they try to do their promos and talk shit, and there's no crowd to cheer them on.
It's really hard because stuff like that you kind of feed off the crowd's energy. So there's no crowd there, you have no energy. I guess they made it work the best way they could, but
Yeah, it was kind of awkward. Like imagine Stone Cold not having the crowd while he was saying what. You know what I mean?
Maybe like one person in the background say this about it.
Or Bubba Dudley telling Devon to get the tables just by himself.
Right. It just doesn't work. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same pizzazz.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You kind of got to make do as best you can in these trying times. So, everybody's trying to do, give entertainment as best they can. TikTok is on the rise. I do have some good news, Eli, and I know you hate Will Smith with a passion. And that's fine. I've come to terms with that. But please tell me you love DJ Jazzy Jeff. It's DJ.
I don't hate Will Smith with a passion. I just don't care. Hate requires energy.
I thought you like smashing the table anytime you come, a Men in Black commercial comes on, some shit like that.
I just like, I just, sometimes he proves me like Suicide Squad. He was probably the best part of that movie.
It's not saying much, Eli. It's kind of like a backhanded compliment.
Well, that's bad. Like where the movie's so bad that even I liked Will Smith in that movie.
Well, at least there's something good out of it.
So Jeff, I guess.
Okay. Jazzy Jeff. Okay, Jazzy Jeff is his DJ. Back in the '80s when you was rapping, you always had your 1-2 combo with the rapper and the DJ, stuff like that. And DJ Jazzy Jeff got affected by the coronavirus. And it was like really bad. People saying all kind of crazy stuff like he had pneumonia in both lungs. He had coronavirus. He had, symptoms. He's in critical condition. So we didn't know what was going to happen to Jazzy Jeff. Then, this weekend where they have all these DJ battles, things like that, Jazzy Jeff shows up on his Facebook Live. He's like, look, I'm not dead. I'm still alive. I had corona. It was really bad. I got over it. Let's get the party going. And he did a whole hour and a half of DJ spin and shit like that. We're like, okay, cool. Jazzy Jeff is okay. I'm just saying, we got to protect Jazzy Jeff at all costs.
Yeah, I guess Idris Elba is better too.
He's Black Superman. Of course he's going to get better. So
is Tom Hanks and his old lady and Rita Wilson. I guess they're better.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
there are people recovering.
There are people recovering. Some people, are not going to make it. Some people are going to get hit. And April is going to be a tough time for all of us, So we just got to band together and just make it through April because we don't know how we're going to make it out on the other side of this. But
stay the fuck home, goddammit.
Please stay the fuck home.
I went out yesterday and like, what the fuck kind of quarantine is this?
Right, everybody just out and shit,
Yeah, where's the dystopian future that I was like looking forward to? Like, there's all these motherfuckers out.
Well, see, that's there in Mississippi. They're paying attention to it because the mayor. We're finally on lockdown, Eli. I know last week we talked about it. We're finally on lockdown. We have a curfew. Non-essential businesses have been shut down. So yes, when I did walk outside, it did look like I Am Legend.
Oh man, I wish that would happen not around here, man.
That's why I posted on my Facebook.
Yeah, we're 1 week lockdown, man, and motherfuckers are out. Like cars are constant. I live right by a freeway. So that's constant traffic, man. And I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Y'all are just having too much fun in the post-apocalyptic era.
Yeah, like what the hell, man? Get the fuck home, man. Or else we're going to be out of work for even longer.
Exactly. But guess what, Eli? Even though we're under curfew, I have my essential employee paperwork.
Oh, yeah? You got your green card? You got your ID?
I got my green card. Just in case if I ride through a green book city, because I am in Mississippi.
Your papers.
No, sir. I have my paperwork, sir. Hold on, let me grab my paperwork. Oh man, I saw a meme the other day. It's like Django. It's like when you show the police, you have your employees' paperwork. You look like Django walking through the slave plantation.
I do have a receipt.
Oh man. What else we got to talk about? Can we move on past that?
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. All right, so like I said, we're making do the best way we can with this podcast. So we're completely switching the formats. So we normally move to the box office numbers, but there are no box office numbers. So I decided to do something a little bit different, Eli. I decided to surprise you. We're going to do the top 10 streaming numbers of movies.
Ooh.
Exactly. So we basically the movies that people stream right now. So Eli, I'm gonna test you on this one. So what is the number one streaming movie of the week?
I don't know. Bad Boys.
It is Bad Boys. Good
Is
guess.
it?
I mean,
Will
it's like
Smith.
10 movies came out this year. It's like, it's not hard to guess.
I just saw that because it popped up on my Vudu. It's like, hey, available now or whatever.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay. Like I said, I forgot. Hate Will Smith with a passion. You got like Martin Lawrence.
I don't mind Martin. Martin's cool. Martin.
Exactly. All right, so we got Bad Boys for Life. We got The Current War, Director's Cut, which I never heard of, but apparently it's a big movie. Sonic the Hedgehog, Impractical Jokers, The Captain, whatever it is. Birds of Prey is on there. Way down there.
Yeah, I saw that. I was probably gonna get that.
I thought about it. Yeah, I'm gonna get Birds of Prey eventually down the road. We got Doolittle, The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley, I think. The Gentleman. Yeah.
That's good. I did see that. That's good.
Yep. Clemency, and rounding out the list, Bloodshot.
Okay, I do got that. I bought that.
So you got Bloodshot and you got Birds of Prey. I'm gonna get both of those.
I haven't gotten Birds of Prey yet.
You said you're gonna get it, but you got Bloodshot right now. So
yeah.
So
and there's Rise of Skywalker came out, but like, I can't flow like that right now.
I'm pretty sure when we revisit this list, Rise of Skywalker will be at the top of the list. People can talk shit about Star Wars all they want to, but at the end of the day, Star Wars is still Star Wars. It's going to dominate any streaming, any box office, anything you want to talk about. People shit on it, people hate on it, they still buy it. So that's one of the few things we can always count on. So yeah, like I said, that's the box office. Well, not even the box office, the streaming Fandango numbers that we have right there. And now, before we get into our review of what we're going to do today, Eli, I know you wanted to talk about some things. You want to get into it?
Yeah, just what I've been watching. I mean, I haven't read much because there's
nothing to read.
There's nothing to read, so I just been kind of catching up on some things, and but I did watch a few the other day. Kevin Eastman live streamed from his house the Ninja Turtle. I guess it was like the 30th anniversary.
Nice.
Of the original Ninja Turtles movie. So he live streamed it, and he sat there and watched it, and like answered questions and had trivia. If you answered in time, you get he'll send you something cool and shit. Of course, he never answered my questions because there was like thousands of people all asking at once over the live chat.
Yeah.
So, but it was cool. He just talked. It was like watching a live commentary with the creator of the movie.
He was like live tweeting and all this stuff.
Yeah, it was like a Facebook Live.
Eli,
Facebook
did you
Live.
hashtag?
No.
That's why. That's why he didn't answer your questions.
Oh, really? Well,
yes,
no,
you had to put
was
the
on
hashtag
Facebook.
in there.
It was on Facebook. I thought you were supposed to.
Oh, on Facebook. Okay,
Facebook?
you said Facebook. Okay, my bad. I thought you said Twitter. Because if you're on Twitter, you have to put the hashtags every time. Otherwise, they're not gonna, pay attention.
But
That's
I was
what I was
asking,
doing when I was watching Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I was asking about like who came up with Goongala and all that shit, and really obscure shit. But they didn't answer mine. But one thing, and I hate to admit this, but fuck it, I will. I'll admit this on here. Just exclusive. This is an exclusive news.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, while he was watching the movie, he ordered a pizza. Because Ninja Turtles pizza,
Oh,
why not?
Okay. I feel like he was, what do you call it? Cross-marketing or?
I guess he actually did. He says he's ordering from his favorite local spot, and he's promoting the local businesses, especially
Product
during
placement. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. He was a shout out to his local pizzeria, but he ordered his one of the trivia questions was, what's his favorite kind of pizza? And it was Hawaiian with jalapenos.
Ew, that's disgusting. I think didn't they order it in the movie?
I don't know. He said no answer.
Order like some disgusting shit in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle like cartoon and movies and shit like that.
Yeah, he says, no anchovies, dude. If you got anchovies on there, you're in big trouble, dude. I remember that.
Right.
but I don't know. I hate pineapple on pizza. I think it's blasphemy, especially when I moved away from New York. And the first time I saw that, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? But watching that motherfucker eat that pizza.
You
I was
watched?
like,
Ugh, that's disgusting.
he was there eating. I was like, damn, that pizza actually looks good. So you know what I fucking did? I ordered a Hawaiian pizza with jalapeno.
That's disgusting, man. So basically, the product placement
and
worked.
I ate it. And
Well, okay. Where was your pizza from?
Mine was from Jets across the street.
Okay.
I live like kind of in a busy area, so the place I order is right across the street.
Okay.
I ordered a Hawaiian with jalapenos. If the pineapple weren't there, it'd be awesome. Then it's just basically Canadian bacon and jalapenos.
Right.
But yeah, just something about the sweet. I can't do sweet with my food or something. Like if I want something sweet, I'll eat a donut. You know what I mean?
Right, but it's separate, not like a donut on top of your burger.
Yeah, like that shit at KFC now where they got the donuts and the chicken. I'm like,
yeah, people worried about coronavirus. That shit will kill you faster than coronavirus.
Yeah. Yeah, in a country where we have an obese epidemic.
Right.
Let's throw a chicken between two donuts.
Right. I have a triple bypass with a diet stroke.
Yeah. So just like I'm not like I'm just not a fan of it. So after ordering the pizza, Hawaiian pizza, which I hate, I really wasn't that moved. Like even though it looked good, I ate it and I was like, I was still pretty much. So my opinion didn't change on Hawaiian pizza, but I admit that's what I'm admitting to. I admit that I actually, on purpose, bought a Hawaiian pizza.
Because of Kevin Eastman.
Because I was watching Ninja Turtles, yes. Because I'm a fucking tool like that.
Because what, you thought that if you eat like shit pizza, you were gonna bang Julie Strain also or something?
No, I just thought it looked good, so I want to eat that too. Because like he's eating it and the turtles eat it, and I'm like, yeah, it'll be,
You know what? It worked. At my like 11th or 12th birthday party, I had a birthday party at Pizza Hut. We all ate pizza only because I saw Ninja Turtles do it. So the shit works.
Like, there's, they got fucking Star Wars toys at McDonald's. Let's go, McDonald's.
Right.
Let's go get a Happy Meal. Because
the shit works. It's subliminal messages. The shit works. People want to complain about it. The shit works.
Yeah, so pineapple on pizza is only acceptable under quarantine.
Right. Things we learned in quarantine.
That's the point of the story. But other than that, yes. Also, it's comic book related. Watching the Ninja Turtles with Kevin Eastman was kind of cool, I gotta say.
Yeah. And at the time, I think it was like the highest grossing independent movie ever until I think Blair Witch Project came out or some shit like that.
Yeah. And like it's if you read the old comics, that first Ninja Turtle movie follows.
Well, see, they had no choice. Because they said that when they made the movie, like the cartoon, like anything that was created from the cartoon, they didn't have the rights to. So they only could draw from the source material of the comic. So that's why there was no Bebop and Rocksteady. That's why there was no Krang. That's why there was no, anything like that. So they were forced to do the source material.
Yeah, and it follows very closely to that original #1 comic.
Right. Like the arc City of War. Well, not the City of War arc, but the one where only thing different is like when the foot, when they attack, instead of Leonardo and beat the shit out of him, it was actually Raphael to beat the shit out of.
Yeah, because that was the Leonardo one shot that they took that from. Like even my brother, when he was like what 7 or 8 at the time, and he saw that, he's like, "That's not. They didn't do that." Like because I had all those old comics and he was reading them and he was like, "That's not right. It should have been Leonardo." Yeah.
Well, who got? I think no. I think Leonardo in the movie got the shit beat out of him, but in the comic, I think it was Raphael.
No, it's Raphael.
It's vice versa.
The comic was Leonardo, and Raphael.
Whoever, it was the same thing, but it was a different turtle. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
We remember that much. So yeah. And so awesome movie, man. That's, honestly, I think it's still one of the greatest comic movies of all time. It was Jim Henson's last movie. Jim Henson was the one that did the costume design of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah. And Golden Harvest. That's Raymond Chow's company, the guy who brought Bruce Lee.
Right.
He's Raymond Chow, the Hong Kong film. He worked with the Shaw brothers, and he's the one who discovered Bruce Lee. So, right at the beginning of the movie, Golden Harvest Presents. I was like, holy shit, no shit. Like, I didn't even know that.
Awesome movie.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell's in the movie.
He is Little Sam Rock. That
Yep.
was another trivia question.
There's always a trivia question you ask about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes, he's in the movie. So.
Yeah.
Any other movie you want to talk about?
Oh, I watched Dead Presidents.
Okay.
The other day. Hadn't seen that in a while.
I've actually never seen it.
You've never seen it? Oh, it's a great movie.
I've heard.
I saw it in the movie theater, like when it first came out. It's the Hughes brothers' second movie.
Yep, they did Menace Society, which I love that movie, and then they did that one, and then it kind of faded away.
Then they kind of From Hell. They did a comic book movie called From Hell. Johnny Depp, Alan Moore comic. But Dead Presidents, I just found out the other day because I watched it that it's semi based on a true story, which I never knew.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I guess it's based on a guy's life, this Vietnam vet, and he wrote an autobiography. And it's based on events. He went to Vietnam, he came back, he was struggling, couldn't get a job, and he ended up joining the Black Panthers, and they robbed. In real life, it was they robbed like a postal truck, like a mail truck full of like money. So, but that's what the movie's about. It's kind of like The Deer Hunter, where, Menace to Society is kind of like Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
This Dead Presidents is kind of like The Deer Hunter, where it's three friends. They're growing up in the Bronx. They go to Vietnam. They come back. They're dealing with the struggles and trauma of that. And, he can't make ends meet. He can't hold down a job. And they end up plotting to rob an armored truck. And so that's what the movie's about, but it also had this big, strong comment on, Black war veterans, people of color war veterans that go and fight, for their country and then come back and they don't get anything. They get their veterans benefits are cut off. They're like, they can't get a job,
and
no one will hire.
The military usually look for, people of color too. They look people of color first to recruit.
Yeah. And I was like, so after watching the movie, I was like reading up on this guy that this was based on. And he actually talked about how even in Vietnam, when he was over in Vietnam, all the colored soldiers, they had the shitty jobs like cleaning out latrines and shit, while the white soldiers had, they were doing like paperwork and shit.
Wow.
So even over there, they were always the first ones to go out at night, on patrol. It was always like the colored soldiers going out on patrol, while the white soldiers got to hang back in the what do you call those, the bungalow things,
the
or whatever?
Barracks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or those underground shelters. What are they called again? I forget. But yeah, he talked about that, and then coming back from Vietnam, how difficult it was to get a job, and and just not being, no one would hire him, how everyone shit on him. Like even in the hood, like he'd go back to the neighborhood and people were, this is all during the civil rights time, and how people in the neighborhood was like, you're a dumbass for going and fighting that white man's war and all that shit. Look what you come back and they didn't give you anything. You didn't get a goddamn thing when you come back. So he even got shit from both ends,
right?
And there's a scene in there in Dead Presidents where he's in Vietnam and and they just like had a battle and they're like on a recon crew and they're going through all the carnage, and they find one of those leaflets, and it's like some propaganda leaflet, and it talks about how like black men go home, this isn't your war, stuff like that, and of course his CEO is like throw that damn commie bullshit away. All that shit. And then he comes back. It's Lorenz Tate. Lorenz Tate. He was in
Menace Society.
Menace Society. He was one of the big actors, big black actors from the 90's. He plays the main character. He comes back and he can't get a job, and his girlfriend's sister, she's in the Black Panthers and stuff, and she's calling him, you're being brainwashed and all that stuff. So it was very like relevant, like as far as like what's going on today, but even back then, because it came out in the 90s, and this is right after the LA riots and Rodney King and all that stuff was going on, and and we had Desert Storm happen. So there was it was timely for that. It was like relevant for that time, but also now it's still like dealt with, poverty and veterans of the Afghanistan, Iraq wars are, they're, my baby's mom and worked at the VA, there was a hiring freeze, they were kicking veterans off their benefits and stuff. And, that stuff still happens, so it was quite an eye opener watching it again. And like I said, just realizing that it was based on a true story. I was like, whoa, so I actually want to find this guy's book, and check it out.
Right. Seeing that he had all that in there. Yeah.
And plus just the imagery of them, they dressed up in black, and they had they painted their faces white, like ghost faced,
Right.
And that's how they robbed the armored truck and stuff like that. But yeah, Dead Presidents, man, it still holds up. I had a great time watching it, and so check it.
Cool. Okay. Anything else before we jump into it?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. All right. So this is the part where we actually talk about the comic books, even though there were no comic books that came out this week. We just decided to make up a segment. So what we're going to do is actually take it back to the 90s, actually to October 1991. Now we're going to paint the time. Eli, the number one song in October 1991 was Mariah Carey's Emotions.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And the number one movie of 1991 was Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I remember that.
Yeah.
T2.
Now I tried to find out some other things like who won the Super Bowl, who won the NBA. I couldn't find all that shit news, stuff like that. Oh, one very important fact that actually plays into a factor of the review we're going to do is that 1991 was the year the wall fell. And well, actually not the wall fell, but the USSR fell.
That's right.
And it got away from
I do remember that.
Which will play a factor into the book we're going to do now. So the book we're going to do now is X-Men. Everybody loves X-Men, right? X-Men were the 90s. Except
they sure were.
Like
Smith and the X-Men.
Right. I knew I had to pick my battles with you, Eli. I knew I had, because I want to do X-Men book, and I want to do either this book or I want to do God Loves Man Killed. And I had to really think about which one, because I know I'm going to get one out of you. So I realized that God Loves Man Kills is more like an introspective book. We're talking about really digs into the dichotomy between mutant racism and classism and civil rights. Or do we want to do a Jim Lee, Claremont, Bing Bang, blockbuster summer event, whatever like that? I feel like if we're gonna do one, let's do a fun one. So the reason we're talking about this book is because, fun fact, X-Men #1, that the book that this one we're talking about is actually the highest selling comic book of all time.
Of all time.
There is no way. This is the peak of X-Men. So 1991 is the peak of the comic book industry in general. It is the highest it has ever been. It's the highest it probably ever will be. It has never been that high before. And this is around the time when the X-Men cartoon came out.
Yes.
It was an X-Men explosion. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 1991, I was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated in 92. So I was, at the time, for me, I was already done with superheroes. There was I was still reading The Punisher and Ghost Rider at the time, but I was reading Dark Horse. I had found Dark Horse, and I was reading Aliens and Predator and Sin City, and I was reading Heavy Metal magazine. So I was kind of done with superheroes. Mm-hmm. But my little brother, he was 8 or 9 at the time, and this was his shit. He had dyslexia as a kid, so he had a hard time reading. And comic books, he attributes comic books with learning, teaching him how to read. And he was all about that. Was right when they relaunched the X-Men. And #1, X-Men #1.
And that's the thing, because people were thinking, oh, this is the first X-Men, because people were looking at the cartoon, never heard of X-Men. So when they see X-Men #1, they're thinking, oh, this is the first time we're going to find out what the X-Men are. No, they actually been around since the 60s. It's like the 300th issue, really, they're putting out, but whatever. That's when Marvel realized that, oh, if we number a book #1, it sells more. That's why they keep rebooting this shit over and over and over again, because it sells more. They just now figured that shit out back in 1981. You know, so funny thing about it. And another reason why this book is actually like really, really special is because it is actually the last story arc of Chris Claremont. Now, the reason the X-Men are so popular are not because of Stan Lee. Everybody gives credit for Stan Lee for everything. Everybody thinks Stan Lee created the Marvel Universe in his mom's basement with a ruler and a pen. That is not true. He has several collaborations. The X-Men is actually one of his failed collaborations. He had the X-Men, ran the X-Men to the ground. They got canceled. It actually got picked up by other creators like Len Wein. Len Wein, creator of Swamp Thing. Len Wein, creator of Wolverine. You know,
Wolverine, yeah.
He's the one that brought the X-Men back to life. He did his thing, left, and then Chris Claremont came and had one of the longest runs of any comic creator ever on any book. From 1976 till 1991, he was the only X-Men writer. That was it. So every story between then was him. Dark Phoenix Saga, Days of Future Past, anything you can think of, Mutant Massacre, anything. It's all him. So that's why this is a big deal right here. So this is actually his swan song, and I talked more about why this is the ending of him for this book. Now, one thing I do want to talk about before we jump into this review, Eli, is that the X-Men are kind of special for me because I'm one of the few people that actually was reading X-Men or knew about X-Men before the cartoon ever came out. So I knew who all these characters were. So when the cartoon came out, it exploded. My classmates were going crazy about it. And like, hey, he's that kid to read comics. What's going to happen on the next episode? So they asked me like, who's this character? What's going to happen there? What's his backstory? I would tell them what's going to happen on the next episode. This shit happened. And they're looking at me like I'm fucking, Nostradamus or some shit. Because I've already read this shit.
And like I said, my little brother was all the toys,
right?
The cartoon, the comics. He devoured that shit. Yeah. And and they were just around. Like I kind of stopped. I wasn't following comics as much as I would. I started smoking weed, so my money was going towards other things. So I just didn't have the funds to follow comics like I had been. But my mom was buying my little brother all this shit. So he had all these comics, and I would bored on the shitter, grab one of his X-Men, grab one of his X-Force. Cable, he loved Cable. He loved X-Force. He loved Warpath. I thought he was corny, but he loved him. But like I said, I was a cynical high school kid. He's a little 8-year-old.
Like, I get it. You were into different types of comic books. You weren't really into the mainstream superhero, because X-Men at the time, like the book we're about to read, this is as mainstream as you can get. This is pure, uncut, straight into your veins, chop it up and snort it X-Men. You can't get more pure than what we're about to do right now if you're into X-Men.
Yeah.
So I think we should just jump into the review. I think we, reminisce.
And this was huge. This was huge at the time.
This was huge at the time.
Because even because even me, I was like, oh, they're rebooting the X-Men. And yes, Jim Lee's drawing them, and it looks really cool. Maybe this will be it. Maybe this will be my finally I'll get into the X-Men. So even back then, I said, I'll give the X-Men another try.
Because the X-Men were like, if you had read the X-Men before this book, they were doing all kind of crazy shit. They was in Australia. They thought they were dead. Professor X was in space. They were just all doing all kind of wild shit. So they actually brought it back to basically the basics. So everything
they were already huge before this shit came out.
Right. That's the thing. Like this is what people remember of the X-Men. This is it. This is like the tip top peak of X-Men. This ain't Jonathan Hickman. Oh, let's deconstruct it. No, this is boom, them, the X-Men.
Yeah.
So I think we should just jump into this bad boy.
Okay. All
right, let's do it. So I'm trying to see how we're gonna do this review. Do you want to do it like we normally do it? Like I do issue 1, you do issue 2, I do issue 3.
No,
Maybe not.
'Cause
Okay. Okay.
it's all blurry
just
to me.
I was
It's
just
already
throwing,
all blurring. I don't know which one is which.
I was just throwing out an idea. It's cool. It's cool. We got shot down. That's fine. We're gonna roll with this bad boy. All right. So the book starts off out with a heist. So apparently some people have stolen a SHIELD space shuttle. They're on the run. They're flying into outer space. They're being tracked by 3 other SHIELD spaceships. They was able to shoot one down, the 2 other SHIELD spaceships and going into them. They get into this big dogfight in the middle of space. Where they're going, nobody knows. But all of a sudden, boom, they run into Magneto, who's out in space because his spaceship, Asteroid M, is floating 250 miles above Mother Russia. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that. He was just hiding out the whole time, just chilling, just not bothering anybody, just keeping to himself. He sees these people invading his airspace. He's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? And they're thinking they're going to, Magneto's going to kill him. He was like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not some kind of terrorist. I'm not some kind of bad guy. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take you back to where you came from and just tell whoever sent you, leave me the fuck alone. They were like, no, Magneto, don't do that. We're your worshipers. We're your flock, your followers, your acolytes. Now, keep in mind, the acolytes is a big deal because in the 90s, they become a real pain in the X-Men's ass. Let's keep going on with that. Mm-hmm. So Magneto's just like, okay, well, he decided to take him hostage and just take him back to Asteroid M. Why they doing that? Meanwhile, because what happened, because since Magneto has been chilling in Asteroid M, he's been uncontested. Nobody has known he's even been up there the whole time. But when he did that, Russia found out that he's there. The planet Earth has found out he's there. And Russia finds out he's 250 miles exactly right above them. They're like, okay, that is a problem. First off, we didn't even know Magneto was even still around. Now that he's here and he's this crazy ass terrorist, we need to exact the Magneto protocol. They're like, what the fuck the Magneto protocols? Like, get Moscow on the phone, get the White House on the phone. We need to activate the Magneto protocols right now. So the president, who's the president in 1991? Is it not Clinton?
It was Bush.
Bush Sr. Okay. Let's say it's Bush Sr. Bush Sr. is having a conversation with his senior advisor, Nick Fury, I guess. Not Samuel Jackson, the white one. Like I said, it's the 90s. So he's having a conversation with Nick Fury. Nick Fury trying to talk him out of doing the Magneto protocols. They're like, I know everybody else is itching to get at Magneto, but don't do it. Because if the Russians go up there and start a war with Magneto, we're going to have some real serious problems. He was like, so Nick Fury, what do you propose? He was like, I think I can put together a team. Because that's always Nick Fury's thing, So we cut to the X-Men, and it's like a 10-page long of just them training. And we know what this is. It's basically we're getting to know the X-Men. You got basically the training exercise is about they send 2 teams after to capture Professor X. Whoever captures Professor X wins. Archangel sends Colossus through the window, tries to get him. Jean Grey takes him out with a psychic attack. Gambit actually gets close to the window, but turns out he only captured the L&D, a decoy robot. But while he's doing that, Wolverine is using all his distraction to actually get a hold of Professor X himself and puts the claws right in front of him. Bang, Charlie, you're dead. Fucking around with him and shit like that.
Psylocke's bending over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Jim Lee loves Psylocke. I realized that. He loves drawing her. You can tell who his favorite is. But anyway, Wolverine wins the contest. He decides to go smoke a cigarette. Oh, fun fact. Comics actually, Marvel banned smoking altogether in 2000. That was because of Joe Quesada. His father passed of lung cancer, so he banned smoking. Keep in mind, this is before that. This is the 90s. Everybody smoked. If you're smoking, Wolverine smoking, Gambit smoking, fuck it. If you're cool, you smoke. So while they're training, Nick Fury interrupts them. He's telling them all what's going on. Your buddy Magneto has reappeared. They're like, oh shit. And he's taking some hostages. Like, oh shit. And the Russians are inching to go up there, but I'm trying to give you a heads up about what's going on right now. And they were like, well, we all need to be prepared what's going on because we know Magneto. He's been a terrorist in the past. Leopard didn't change his spots. And Wolverine's like, oh, he's a leopard? I thought he was a man. Mans have past. Mans can change sometimes. That's the thing, because Magneto is a complicated character. Now, this isn't an origin or a reboot of the X-Men. This is a continuation of the X-Men. Magneto was an X-Man. He was their worst enemy at one time. Then he changed his ways. He joined the team and got in a relationship with Rogue and, hung out with him a while. But then crazy shit happened and he decided to go his own ways, whatever like that. And also, he was actually like the headmaster of the New Mutants. Like, he taught them how to fight and all this shit like that. So there's like we just need to be prepared in case some crazy shit happen. While they're doing that, Magneto is back on Asteroid M talking to the people and shit like that. That he's not holding them hostage. He's basically treating them like guests. Y'all chill, y'all hang out, and nothing's gonna happen to them. But they're fighting amongst each other because you got humans, well, the Shield agents fighting against the mutants that snuck on the board. And one of them actually shoot one of the mutants on board, and the blood's like splat all over mutant Magneto, stuff like that. And the girl mutants is like, "Save us, Magneto! Be our savior!" And Magneto's just fucking pissed. So he makes the dude magnetically raise the gun to his own head, shoot him in the head. Like, oh shit! So Magneto's just like, okay, I killed one of the Shield agents. They're not gonna be too happy about this. When they find out, I'm gonna have some fucking problems. So the main mutant on the Acolytes team name is Fabian Cortez. Now keep in mind, Fabian Cortez is also a pain in the ass that's in the X-Men comics later on down the road. Fabian Cortez tells Magneto, "Look, Magneto, you're the best motherfucker we ever met in our life. You're cool, but when they find out what you did, they're gonna come. Now, yeah, you can stop something like that, but we need to make sure that they have plans, but they don't even think about coming to you. Like, well, what do you think I should do? I have a plan." So Magneto decides to, now back in the 80s, 70s, something like that, Magneto, when he was like full on mutant terrorist and shit like that, he blew up a submarine, killed everybody on the ship and shit like that. And that's one of the reasons why he had now, because they're kind of looking for him for murdering all those people on there. But that submarine had a whole bunch of nukes on there, so Magneto decides to find that submarine, use magnetic powers to raise it back up to the surface and steal all the nukes. While he's going there, the X-Men find him. Some of them try to have a conversation. The other ones just say, "Fuck it, let's just fight his ass." So they just start fighting. Psylocke kicks the shit out of him. B starts, punching him. And Wolverine's just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna just slice the shit out of him." So Wolverine actually like tags him pretty good. Cyclops blasts him to the next room and blasts him actually into the submarine. When he's in the submarine, he sees nothing but like dead bodies and skeletons, shit like that. And he realized that's what he did to those submarines. He knew he wasn't faced with the mortality of what he caused. And the last time he was surrounded by dead bodies and skeletons like this was the last time he was in, the Nazi death camp. So now he's realizing he's become what he's hated. But the X-Men is still coming after him. Wolverine's like on full-blown berserker mode, like, I'm finna end this shit. I'm finna put all 6 of my claws in Magneto's chest. He uses magnetic powers, throws Wolverine away, because he's not trying to kill the X-Men. He's trying to just going about his business. Takes the nukes, fly off into space. Rose is like, "Okay, all of you guys are stupid. I'm going to have a conversation with Magneto myself." She flies off into space with Magneto. Well, as high as she can go. Not quite space, high as she can go. And she just has a conversation with him. She's like, "Magneto, look at what you're doing. They think you're the boogeyman. Everything they say about us, they use you as an example of how evil we can be. And you're acting exactly how they think you are. That's why everybody's freaking out." And Magneto like, "What do you want me to do?" They're like, "How about you just come down, have a conversation with everybody, talk to you." And while she's doing that, the Russians have already fired on Magneto because he's in their airspace. But instead of firing on him, they fire on Rogue. And Magneto's like, "Rogue, well, there's your answer. That's why I can't, cooperate with everything that's going on. I try to be good. I try to do everything Charles wanted me to do. And this is the shit that happened. So I'm finna let them know not to fuck with me." And what he does, he sets off a nuke in space, in the atmosphere. Now, the nuke doesn't destroy anything, but since it's just a huge ass EMP, it pretty much just knocks out all the power in Russia. So, and then he flies off to space, and he's got the nukes just floating around Asteroid M, just in case if anybody even tries to fuck with him, But the thing is, his fight with the X-Men kind of left him wounded. The slashes that he got from Wolverine, and we got sliced by Cyclops. He's feeling it, so he passes out. Fabian Cortez is like, "You know what, Magneto? You rest. I'm going to heal you just like I did my sister, even though she got shot. But while you're resting, I'm going to take up the cause in your name." So Professor X gets a call to the X-Men, and she's like, "Okay, I know what's going on. I know y'all looking for Rogue. You can't find after you set the nuke off. I got a call from Rogue. She's actually in Genosha. Why is she in Genosha? They don't explain it. Whatever. X-Men go there. And the Acolytes, Fabian Cortez goes down there to try to pick a fight with Rogue and the Genoshans just to fuck with them, whatever. X-Men beat the Acolytes, and before they can do anything, Magneto finally wakes up and comes back to the Genoshans and say, "Hey, leave my Acolytes alone. I know there's some dumbasses. I know they did this shit without my permission, but you don't touch them. That's my job to punish them. Otherwise, we're gonna have an issue." They get to another fight. That's the end of issue 1. Yoshida want to do issue 2, Eli?
Go ahead, man. Like, what happens in that one?
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, the fight. Oh, yeah, it's what the shit in Genosha.
Yep. They fight some more.
They
You know
fight
what? You
some
know
more.
what? I'll do this one. I'll do this one because actually, it's issue 2 is actually a lot more stuff because they don't just.
There's some shit about Moria and Banshee and Magneto brings the house up to space and
Yeah, that's actually
something.
pretty.
Yeah,
That's actually pretty.
yeah, that's some shit going on with that, which I wasn't familiar with. So you better do that. you
Okay,
know.
I would do that.
better
I would do that. I would do that. Okay, so issue 2, actually, what happens is that so the X-Men at the last issue, X-Men beat the shit out of the acolytes. Magneto shows up, beats the shit out of the X-Men, and not only this, he got another acolyte just pops out of nowhere named Chrome or something like that. He stops all the X-Men one shot. He takes all the X-Men up to Asteroid M also. So now all the X-Men are hostage. And then Professor X is like, oh, he took out my X-Men. I need to have a conversation with Moria because he can feel something is up with Moria. Like something, why is she tripping out? She's in a cabin getting drunk. She's just like, I gotta tell you what happened, Charles. I really fucked up this time. She's like, what'd you do? What'd you do? And Magneto's standing behind her like, yeah, what did you do? Like, oh shit. Because I think you trying to say you had something to do with me. And then she floats him in, and then he takes the cabin and floats into space. You're like, don't worry about your X-Men coming for me because I'm floating in space and I want to have a conversation with both of you two by myself. So I'm going to ask you again, Moria, what did you do? And if you don't answer my question, I'm going to kick Charles out of this cabin and throw him in space. You got 3 seconds. 1, 2, and then she says what happens. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little backstory about what happened in the X-Men because of some of the weird shit also. Magneto was turned into a baby one time. Now,
Yeah.
okay, there's a reason behind that. In story and outside the story. You know how Magneto was born like in the 1920s or some shit like that, and World War II, and now we're in the 90s, but he's still all like abbed up and still looked like the sexiest man alive and shit like that. Okay, so they had a problem with Magneto getting old even back then in the 80s. So like, okay, we need to like de-age him. So some weird ass alien mutant or some shit like that turned Magneto into a baby. You know, he went to Moria Mataga's island. She raised him for a little while, and then somehow he got turned back into an adult. But he didn't get turned back into his like regular age. He like turned into like a prime age. Like, so that's why he looks like he's in his 20s or his 30s, some shit like that. You know, abbed up, 6 feet, whatever. You know, even though he's really like in his 60s or 70s or shit like that. So that's how they got around that shit in the comics. You know, but what Moria McTaggart said, what she did, is that yes, when Magneto was turned to a baby, she altered his DNA. Now, the reason she says she altered the DNA because she says she looked into his genetic code, and somehow because he's such a powerful mutant that anytime he uses power, it creates like a chemical imbalance in his brain. Basically turns him into a sociopath. That's why he's so fucking crazy. So she decided, since he's a baby, if I can just rewrite his code and correct that chemical imbalance, I can make him good. So Magneto didn't like that shit. Basically, she played around with his genetic code and made him docile, and basically, you know, even though he was always a bad guy, basically anytime that he was good in the 80s is because of the bullshit that she did. That's what he thinks. He flips out, almost kills her, but he was like, you know what, I'm not going to kill you, Moria. What I want you to do is the same shit you did to me to make me docile, uncomplacent. I want you to do the same shit to the X-Men. Make them docile, complacent, and make them obey me. No, I won't do it. I wasn't asking you. And then he almost chokes her. She's like, okay, I'll do it. So she does it. Turn the X-Men and basically into the Brotherhood, you know. But that's just the X-Men blue team. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I actually make some shit. Professor X split the X-Men into 2 teams. You got the blue team, which is the cool team. Wolverine, Psylocke, Gambit, Rogue, the cool team. Then you got the gold team, Iceman, Archangel, Jean Grey, you know, the Colossus, the lame team nobody ever reads. So the lame team is on the ground, you know, and Jean Grey is running like simulations and shit like that. And she ran 10 straight simulations about how they're going to go and take the team to go rescue them, and they get beat every single time. And then Forge walks into the room. He's just like, I got some news for you. He's like, wait, we got beat again? What are we, the Mets? You know, because the reason they're getting beat.
Forge is on that team too.
Forge is on the lame team, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. That's awesome. That makes me feel just great.
they're like, you're on that team, okay? Because the reason they
Yeah.
get beat over and over again is because they're like, okay, yeah, we can beat the blue. Because the lane team, they're called the gold team. Officially. They're the gold team. So the gold team is like, yeah, we can beat the blue team. We can beat the acolytes. If we're lucky, we might can beat Magneto. But all three of them together all at one time, we can't beat them. It just can't be done. So what do? Well, we got to come up with a plan. But while they're doing that, Forge basically, I got a phone call from Nick Fury. You know, Nick Fury, and for some reason, Nick Fury is all 90s up this time. He's got pouches, guns everywhere.
Yeah, I totally thought that was Cable for a
They made him look like Cable. So it's like, why do you look like Cable?
Yeah.
And why are you holding a gun when you're in the UN? You're not going anywhere. You're just at work. But anyway, Nick Fury gives some news. And he was like, okay, I know y'all have problems. I know the blue team, the cool team, you know, has been kidnapped. And you guys suck because you're the scrub team. But we got problems. The Magneto Protocol has been activated. So what the hell is the Magneto Protocol? Okay, so the Magneto Protocols, the Russians had actually developed basically like a mini Death Star, a planet killer. They didn't tell anybody. They just made it. And they deployed it into space. And they're going to aim it directly at Asteroid M. And it's basically like the power of many nukes. And when they shoot at Asteroid M, it's going to kill everybody on that, you know, in that base. Magneto, Acolytes, X-Men, Moria, everybody going to be gone. And it can be
and that's an actual reference to real life Ronald Reagan Star Wars.
Star Wars, right? Okay, so
That's what he
tell
called
me about Star Wars. Yeah.
So Star Wars was Ronald Reagan wanted to equip satellites in space with nukes.
What? Why did I know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He called it Star Wars.
Okay. You know, he made it sound cool, but not really how fucked up this shit sounds. Okay.
And he, I mean, you know, officially it never happened. You know, they never did it, but they actually went to that summit where him and Gorbachev Miguel Gorbachev, who was the prime minister of Russia at the time, and they had the peace summit or whatever it was called, where they were going to like, okay, we're going to not make nuclear weapons anymore, because this is back in the 80s when that threat was real.
Right.
And we have so many nuclear weapons, we can blow up the world like 10 times. You know, yeah, that's how much nuclear weapons are on Earth. We can blow up the world 10 times. We don't have enough ventilators, though.
Right.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's the crazy thing, right?
Yeah, we got enough bombs to blow the shit out of it, but we ain't got ventilators for everybody. But anyways, those talks broke down because Reagan wanted his Star Wars satellites. So they never came to an agreement. So that's funny that when I saw that, that's what that reminded me of. The Russians have their little mini Death Star. You know,
right. But the thing is, because of the threat of Magneto, both the USSR and the United States agreed on this. So even though they didn't tell them they had a Death Star, they agreed on the shit. They were like, you know what, kill Magneto. Because the thing is, here's the reason they hate Magneto. And this is the parallel that I started realizing. It's not because Magneto is powerful. He is the most powerful mutant. But because he can inspire others to believe they're powerful enough to overthrow the government as it is. Because the fact that he's a symbol for an underclass, they have to take him out. They have to assassinate him. I thought that was, because Chris Claremont was always making a comparison with Malcolm X to, you know, Magneto. I was like, that's a pretty good comparison right there.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, that's issue 2. That's done.
Yeah.
Last story of this arc, and they pretty much put on there the last issue of Chris Claremont. This last issue he's going to write. So the lame team, the scrub team, the gold team. So they realize how they can get to. So how they're going to get to Asteroid M without Magneto finding out they're there. What they do is that they get a glider, not a plane, a glider. They doesn't fly anything like that. And Storm uses her power to fly them as far up to the stratosphere as they can until she gets to the point where there's no more wind. You know. So the rest of that way, Jean Grey uses her power to get them the rest of the way there. And she used like a tractor beam and load them up there. And since the whole thing is made out of plastic, Magneto can't sense them and let them know they're there. So when they finally get to the base, they sneak on, but the X-Men are already ready for them. The Acolytes are already ready for them. Magneto's already ready for them. They beat the shit out of them. But some weird shit happens. the X-Men start fighting the lame team, like the blue team start fighting the lame team, and start fighting the acolytes. They're like, why are y'all fighting both of them? Because what happened is that Moira Mataga, when she switched their DNA, what she was trying to tell Magneto from the beginning is that when she switches DNA, you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do. So when the blue team start fighting the gold team, they realize, I don't want to fight you because you're my family, you're my friend, all the stuff like that. Now the acolytes, fuck them, I'll fuck them up, you know. And that's what you're trying to tell Magneto, I didn't make you do anything against your will. That's what inherently, you're a good person. You did what you wanted to do. If you really didn't want to do all that good shit, you wouldn't have did it, and nothing I could have did to do it. And he was like, well, I kind of see your point, but the thing is, I've seen so much fucked up shit in my life, I can't be a good person. Like, yes, Charles see all the good stuff in people because that's what he wants to see. But everything I've ever seen is bad. I went through Nazi death camps. I'm a mutant. I've seen the human race hate people because of the color of their skin, because of the God they choose to worship, or just because they got an extra gene in the DNA. I've seen all this stuff before, and people hate me just because I'm so powerful. So just because people can't see the good in me, I can never be one of you X-Men. I can't look at life the way you do, Charles. But while they're having all this philosophical conversation and fighting and shit like that, that's when the Russian mini Death Star shows up, you know, and blows a hole through Asteroid M. And while they're doing that, Moria also told you, and Magneto, all this bullshit you've been doing, the reason you were good at one time and now you acting crazy like that, because that fucker, Fabian Cortez, he's the one that's been filling your head with all this, those crazy shit and gas you up thinking that you're some kind of mutant messiah and mutant terrorist, like that, even though you left all this stuff behind you, because he's an opportunist. He's really not healing you. Those wounds you got from Wolverine and Cyclops, he never healed them. He made you think they were healed. That's why you're actually getting weaker and you're dying the whole time. So while they have the conversation, they're like, okay, well, where's Fabian Cortez? He already hightailed it out of there. Fabian Cortez already took a jump ship and just flew off the base. And not only that, he activated the Death Star himself. And not only did he activate the Death Star, and all those nukes that Magneto stole and have in front of Asteroid M that he told him to get, he tried to activate that shit too and also blow up Asteroid M. But Magneto knew what he was trying to do, so he deactivated the nukes before he could blow them up. But meanwhile, the Death Star is still just shooting at Asteroid M over and over and over again. So Magneto's like, tell you what, the X-Men, I'm going to let you leave. You get the fuck out of here. Y'all go. But like, Charles is like, no, Magneto, you come with us. Like, nah, I'm staying here. Because I'd rather die like a lion than live like a sheep. And all the other acolytes stay with Magneto. While the other man, he forces the X-Men into like a pod ship and fly them out of there. But right before, Asteroid M completely blows with the Death Star, completely blows it up, he lets his inner thoughts talk to Charles. And him and Charles had like one long conversation. And I love this conversation because it pretty much sums up everything that Chris Claremont was trying to say with these X-Men books. He's basically trying to say, just what I was saying before, that because of I saved you X-Men for two reasons. One, because I love my people. Even though we never see eye to eye, I love my people, and I always make sure I protect them. Now, Charles, me and you may disagree on a lot of things, but on that one thing, we will agree on. That's pretty much the only thing we'll ever see eye to eye on. Because your outlook, you always wish for hope. You always look for the best in people. You hope one day that the humans will accept you as one. Me, on the other hand, because I've seen the worst of people and I've seen so much fucked up shit in my life, I know they will never, ever accept us. And they will do one thing and just try to kill us all. And that's actually the second reason I let you live, Charles. Because when it's all said and done, I want you to realize that the humans are going to let you down. They're going to break your heart. And at the end of the day, you're going to say, I was right. And when it happens, Asteroid M blows up, Magneto dies, never to be seen again. Ever, ever. He's probably back like 5 issues later, some shit like that. But yeah, and that's the thing they said. They were like, basically with the outcome Magneto had and the hard life he's had, he can never see the outlook that we had. And we hoping that I'm seeing the right way. Charles Xavier still has doubt in his head that he's seeing the right way, but he said, I'm hoping I see the right way. But I guess only way to know is to tell in the future. And they fly back to Earth, and that's it. Last issue Chris Claremont ever wrote. That pretty much that conversation between him and Charles sums up 17 years of his storyline, and that's it. So that is the end of an era of X-Men that we know. Then they go on to some other weird shit like Omega Red, and I'm not talking about this shit. Do you want to talk about this shit?
Omega Red, yeah. Omega Red shows up.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about
and then they launched into like what you think is going to be a really cool Wolverine story, and not really.
That's the thing. Okay, and this is the
Let's
moment. This is the
let's
moment.
get this. Yeah, let's get rid. Let's talk about this first before we get into Omega Red.
Okay.
That ending is what made this arc for me.
Right.
Like that's what I found most interesting. Now, reading this again, right away, just getting through issue 1, I was like, holy shit. Now I remember why I could never get into this.
Okay.
Because it's
okay,
it's
because
so
you just see like a wall of text up there.
Yes, well, it's just so, because even back then, like I said, I was never a big X-Men fan, and here, like, okay, they're renumbering a number 1. It's a relaunch. Okay, I'm gonna get into X-Men. I'll give X-Men a chance this time, and this will be, I'm gonna, give a conscious effort into, to give X-Men a chance. And this is, like I said, I was in high school. I was like senior year, and my kid brother was reading this shit. So I tried it again, and I was like, holy fuck, it's still the same old soap opera, convoluted storylines. There's like so much shit going on that I was just like, okay, I still don't know what it's at. I just want to see Wolverine and like this, like 20 other story arcs going on. I'm like,
Right.
this is a number 1,
Right.
So at the time back then, I was like I said, I was exhausted. Now, all these years later, I think, it comes out. It's basically a Magneto story.
Right.
And to me, he's always been the most interesting character out of the X-Men universe, So that's what the focus is of this story. And that's what I responded to this time around reading it. It's like, oh yeah, this is a Magneto story. This is basically him trying to redeem himself.
Right.
He's trying to, he left. He's like, he pulled a Dr. Manhattan. I was like, fuck this Earth. I'm taking off. I'm gonna go live in space, and he's still he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with humans, but they keep fucking with me, and they bring the war to his doorstep, and he responds as such. And even though he has the power to like lay them all to waste, he still has the light inside him. Like when he sees the dead bodies in the submarine and he realized what he's done, and then when he lets the X-Men live at the end, and yes, that conversation that him and, Charles have at the end is so great. It just makes him still, for me, he's still like one of the coolest characters. I don't agree with them a lot, but I find him interesting,
Right.
More so than Wolverine and all that. And,
I mean, because he fought the X-Men like 3 times, maybe 4 times in this whole arc, beat them every single time, like effortlessly.
Yeah.
And basically trying to show you that I could have killed you, but because I'm not the guy that you think I am, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. The conversation he has with Rogue out in space when the nuke goes off, she's making him realize, like, and then they actually join him. I mean, they actually join him at one point. Like, you're right.
Right.
So that was all interesting. So reading, because I remember like reading it like back then, grabbing the book, opening it up, and right away, Magneto's in space. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right. No context
right
is
away.
just there,
Like, what the fuck? No one, like I said, I stopped reading superhero comics. I stopped reading Marvel almost altogether. I mean, I think I was still reading Ghost Rider at the time.
Right.
But, I wasn't following really any Marvel comics. So, when I pick up this first X-Men book and Magneto's in space, I just like, ugh.
Okay, see, that's where you were like, oh, Magneto in space. See, I was like, oh, shit, Magneto's in space. Because we had the exact opposite for me,
Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, I just wasn't into it, but now all these years later, going back and rereading it, it's still very convoluted. There's still 1,000 storylines going on. I can't stand Gambit. He is literally annoying. Like, not just me. He annoys the chicks around him.
Right.
Like everybody's annoyed with
Right.
more Shetty, he's fucking Pepe Le Pew.
You know what? Gambit is like a perfect example of the changing of the guard. Now, like we talked about Chris Claremont in his last issue. Now, I actually watched a documentary on Chris Claremont. Here's the thing. Chris Claremont was fired from this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was fired from this book. That's the thing. He didn't leave on his own volition. Here's the thing. Chris Claremont had wrote 17 years of X-Men. He never wanted Magneto to be a bad guy. In his run up until this book here, Magneto was slowly coming from a bad guy to joining the X-Men, to training the mutants, and the way he wanted to end the X-Men story was Charles Xavier is going to die, and Magneto is going to take his place and become the head of the X-Men. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a complete redemption arc with Magneto. However, when that cartoon hit and those numbers came, Marvel said, I want you to give me a big, grand X-Men book and make Magneto a bad guy. He's like, Magneto bad? I just wrote 17 years of trying to redeem Magneto. I don't give a fuck. Fuck all that. Make him a bad guy. I'm like, fuck. So he wrote the story and he fired him. Yeah. Because, and another thing, because like I said, he had this big wall of text thing like that. And see, this is one of the downfalls of the 90s. Chris Claremont is a great writer. Jim Lee is a great artist. But in the 90s, they felt like the art was selling the book and the writers was just getting in the way. They like, as long as we got Jim Lee or Tom McFarlane or, Rob Liefeld drawing the books, it doesn't matter who's writing these books. They're going to sell no matter what. And to a point, they were kind of right at the time. Because here's the thing. Okay, I was saying, this was Chris Claremont's story. We broke the story down, had a lot of subtext into it, had a lot of meaning to it. However, those next 4 issues in this Mutant Genesis book, I know you didn't read all of it, Eli, but you know where it's going.
Yes. And I can totally tell, because Jim Lee
did
the plot. It said, you can totally tell. And that's like when you read like the old issues of Spawn and even some of Todd McFarlane's run, how bad of a writer they are.
Right. That's the thing. That story was all like this 3 arc. Even I liked it, but the next 4 issues of it was all over the fucking place. Like people just popping up out of nowhere. You don't know what's going on. Is Wolverine like fighting people, or is he knocked unconscious? Where did he get this thing? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Let's flash back 24 hours ago. Like why?
He would have a flashback like one panel, then go back to the regular story. Like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And like, okay, and here's Mojo. Like, what the
right?
Like, what the fuck's he got to do with it?
Right. Like, I didn't want to see Dazzler. What the fuck?
I just want to see Omega Red and Wolverine throw down. And...
Right. He threw all this other weird shit in there, and the story didn't make any sense. And it's exactly like everything you said. It's like everything that you always said was bad about the X-Men, Eli. It was right there in those 4 issues. Like everything Eli said about it, like it's a soap opera. It just drags his feet. It's overly romantic, like some kind of like some CW show, like when Gambit's playing basketball just to get a date with Rose.
Oh yeah, there's like 5 pages of them playing basketball.
Right. But that's an old X-Men trope. They always play sports. They always say, "Don't use your powers." Somebody use the powers.
For 5 fucking pages,
Yes, yes. Like I said, everything you said about X-Men is right, Eli. I'm saying you're right.
Just so we could see Rogue in a swimsuit and
that's even
Jubilee in gym shorts and shit.
Psylocke, when they in a meeting, they call Cyclops call everybody to the meeting. Psylocke, I was taking a swim in the pool, so she's in a bikini the whole time. Yeah. So all she does when they go on a mission is put on a jacket with her bikini. And they fly off, and she's still in the bikini, like calling out orders and shit like that. Like, Timmy, what the fuck are you doing? This is shit they were selling to us. She's going on a mission in a bikini. Oh man, everything you say, Eli, it can't.
Kicks everybody. She's always spread eagle, and it's always a full frontal shot of her coming at us. Like, which you
can see tits and ass at the same time. Like, how does that work?
I'm not complaining. Those are my favorite panels. But still.
Like he zooms in on Rogue and shit like that when she's talking. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, but that's the thing. It was like a dichotomy between it because you got this. But here's the thing. Jim Lee's writing fit his art style better than what Chris Claremont was doing. Because Chris Claremont was trying to tell this real intricate story, a political intrigue, redemption story. But with Jim Lee's art, it kind of clashed.
Yeah,
because Jim Lee's
art
yeah
is awesome. The art is. I mean, Jim Lee is just awesome.
But, yes, but does it fit? That's the thing. Does it fit the story Chris Claremont was trying to tell?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little convoluted because you can tell Jim Lee is just cramming even his art. With his art being as good as it is, it's just so much shit. Like, it's a good thing I read this on digital, because I do the guided view. So
you can zoom in on the panels and stuff. Yeah,
zoom in on which order, because I was like, if it didn't do that, I'd be lost on which fucking panel to read first and all. You know what I mean? Especially when you do the big double splash page and it's just 1,000 panels of, and then little thought bubbles and conversation. Like, okay, where am I reading?
Right.
What order does this conversation go in, or I'm going to get lost?
And that's the thing. Like, they're having action panels and just word bubbles, just walls of text bubbles. How are you talking that much in an action scene?
And thinking at the same time.
Right. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Their narration, yes, with all the fury and power of his fists, and they're like, I get it, dude. He's punching.
Right,
like,
you can see him punching.
You don't have to explain how badass his fists are.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like Chris Claremont and Jim Lee were clashing together. I don't know how I feel. I don't know if now Jim Lee shouldn't write this book. I know that he's a terrible writer. We can tell that with the 4 issues he was writing. But I guess. He didn't fit with Chris Claremont because Chris Claremont was throwing in all these different subplots and storylines, and everybody had their own thing going on. He needed a artist with a more realistic take on these characters. But I guess in the 90s, they didn't really work. Everybody in the 90s pretty much had the same style. It's not like it, and that's one thing that's different with comics now, that people do have their style. You have people doing superhero-y shit like this, but then you have like real, artists that draw like more realistic tones and things like that. Like Ivan Rice and not Ivan Rice. What's that other guy? The guy that did Ultimates. I can't remember his name. But anyway, they have guys that do more realistic artwork. And with the type of storytelling that would tell, this type of story that needs to sell. But if we had that, would it sell like it did? We're Monday morning quarterbacking on the best-selling comic of all time.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I don't know that like I said, my brother loved this shit. I don't know that he picked up on it. But he liked collecting it. Like, I remember, because he had the #1, and I remember taking him to the comic shop, and like, dude, here's all the back issues, and his face just lit up, like, holy shit! And he had it was like 1 through 7 or 8 at the time, and I'm like, I can fill in the gaps of the ones that he's missing. He just like lit up, like, oh my god, I didn't know these existed, and so he was able, because there was so many of them at the time, so so many different variants and stuff like that. He was able to complete his collection, but I don't know that he understood all of what was going on, at the time, because he's a little kid.
Right, and it's like
he just responded to the art.
The art sold the book. I'll be honest with you, Eli. When I read this book, it's a lot of subtext that I didn't get when I read this book earlier. I do remember Jim Lee's artwork was awesome. I do remember that. I was like, ooh, look at these panels. Ooh, like when Archangel was throwing Colossus through the ceiling, I just looked at that panel. I was like, that is a gorgeous panel. Regardless of what's happening. And there was so many panels like that.
Yeah, and that's what pushes the issue. That's what keeps the page turning, is the art.
Right.
And and even back then, I can't remember exactly what was going on at the time, and I probably wasn't paying attention as much, but the art was cool. The art was really cool. I mean, then we had Wizard. I mean,
right.
So looking back on this, like, it's been so many years since I read this, but looking back on it now, I can tell why it was such a big deal. And even with that first story and how the first 3 issues are very well written, but as I was reading the next story, it's not well written, but it still looks awesome.
Right. And that's the thing.
It still looks great, and just the covers, I can see, why people were just, gotta have it, and why there was 1,000 Then you had X-Force and Excalibur,
And just
and
new
then
characters
all
just
like,
kept popping up all over
Yeah.
every place.
you
Like,
know, Cable and Deadpool eventually came out, and
and even
you know,
when
I
old
can
characters
tell.
do show up, Jim Lee redesigns them. So Sabretooth shows up. Oh, I don't think you made it
Yeah.
far, have you?
I was on. No, he hasn't. No, I read to
You haven't
number
made that
5.
far. Okay, you probably won't. But anyway, Sabretooth shows up, has a new design. He's wearing like a 3-piece suit and has a girlfriend. Okay, remember Marvel vs. Capcom?
Yeah.
You ever played with Sabretooth on there? There was a girl that was with him, you know, on his win scenes. She was
Okay.
there in the book. That's her first appearance. Yeah, probably her only
Yeah.
appearance, but whatever, you know. So he's just wearing like his 3-piece suits like that. Okay, he made Sabretooth like super cool. So that's the thing. He was always redesigning
Oh
these
yeah,
characters.
yeah. The one with the cover with Psylocke and Sabretooth, and
Right.
along came Sabretooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psylocke get brainwashed or whatever. Fuck, it doesn't matter. But that's the thing. The artwork was awesome. Jim Lee do his redesigns like that. Because that's the thing. Like the designs that we're looking at on the X-Men in this banner right here, that's the design that people think about when they see it. 'Cause that's what designs that came from the cartoon. And they took it directly from Jim Lee's art. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Even like he was redesigning Magneto. It's just like some simple stuff. But the way he did it is iconic.
And there was
Oh.
all those variant covers. There was like how many different covers for that number 1?
Yeah. Wait a
You
minute.
know.
Like 4 or 5. It was like,
Yeah, but it made this banner though.
it made it
That's
better because
basically what it was.
each cover was like each part of it was a cover. Like it made a whole
Yeah,
cover, so you
so
had to
you
get the
could,
whole thing to get the whole cover.
Yeah,
Because you got
could,
like
hang it up.
Cyclops and Wolverine, that's what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Cyclops and them, and then you got the lame team. You know, you
And there
got-
was that one which is Magneto on the cover.
right. Then you got
you know.
Magneto, so you had to get all the covers to get the cover. So yeah, it was, and that's another reason why it probably. You know what?
Poster.
So this book basically taught the comic industry all the wrong lessons. Make a number 1, make a shitload of covers, and there you go, and sit back and collect money. And it worked for a time, and then it didn't work anymore. So I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Anything else we got to talk about X-Men? I think like I said, I'm not going to talk about those other issues because they really suck. You can finish Eli, but it really sucked. It is a big drop off on the first 3 issues.
I was gonna finish them. It's just like, okay, it's getting late, and I'm not done yet. And if it's gonna take me at least an hour to finish this shit.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, hey, aren't we just doing the first 3 anyways?
Right. That's the thing, because like I said, it's the first 7 issues. Now, like the first 3 issues, are really all I really need to talk about because there's no substance to those next 4 issues. Just people just popping up, weird ass stories, weird shit happening all over the place. It doesn't have a rhythm or a flow to it. It's just Jim Lee's artwork. That's all.
Yeah.
You can just draw shit. So there's really no reason to review it. X-Men villains pop up that never show up again. The upstarts. Oh, they're iconic classic villains like that, you know. So I don't know. Other than that, shoot, can we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it.
Yeah, we weren't gonna do like a 2-hour thing or anything like that. We're just gonna get in, get out. Next week we'll do something else. Like I said, we're working out the kinks. We're figuring this thing out. But we'll see. We go from there.
Hey, if you want to do that other X book you were talking about the gods or whatever,
God Love Man
I'll check
Kill.
it out.
I don't want
That
to do. I don't want
actually
to do
sounds
2
interesting.
X-Men books back to back. I do want to get to God Loves Man Kill eventually, but I want to do something else because
All right.
I want to switch it
Because
up.
that actually sounds like when you were explaining that, I was like, damn, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Especially
Like that book has some meat to it. It's not like that Jim Lee bullshit.
Especially because I'm reading this Omega Red shit, and I'm like, that actually sounds cool.
Right. That's the so we could have did God Love Me, and we probably will. We'll see how this pandemic lasts, anything like that. We get to run to it, but I want to spread the love out and do some other books also. You know, I don't know what we're gonna do next week, but we'll figure it out and let you know. If you listen this long, definitely like, share, subscribe. We have our other podcasts. We have Comic Cast. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Eli, you listen to them. What do they do?
I didn't listen to them yet, but they were doing Ghost Fleet. I know it's an old Donny Cates book and Daniel Warren Johnson book, which is actually cool.
Okay.
I actually wanted to listen to see what they had to say about it, but I didn't get a chance to.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what they did today. I know.
Okay, cool. We also have Get Valiant. We have This Geeks and Comics. We also have Hoodoo TV. We also have Instant Instruction. Whole bunch of shit. Just check it out. What's that wrestling podcast? I think it's Council of Wrestling. Yeah, we got that one too. Next week we'll come with some more shit. We're gonna do another retro book, but we don't know what retro book we're gonna do yet. We're gonna take a poll between ourselves, not with you guys. We don't give a shit what you think. We're gonna review what we want to review. Until then, this is Leroy.
This is Eli.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Same bullet time, same bullet channel.